Katelyn and Derek Drye are a singing and songwriting duo right here in Nashville. They've been writing and performing music together since they first started dating. That was about 15 years ago. They both sing beautifully, but it's the emotions they capture in their music that really sets them apart. They write about things you really only experience in a committed relationship, all the ups and the downs. And recently, CMT has started playing their music, and the reception's been huge. But their path hasn't been an easy one. They've really struggled with loss and an industry that isn't really quite sure what to do with them. But they aren't deterred because they're doing it together. This is Katelyn and Derek Drye, the Soulmates. Okay, you guys, thanks for being here.
Howdy, good to see you again.
It's so nice to see you. Just like you're mentioning, we did a story together for the news station here where I work in Nashville.
One of my favorites.
A few months ago, and it was just, I mean, it was really an excuse for me to meet you guys because I had heard your music and I was like, who are these people?
Oh my God.
Because truly, like, your soul is in those songs and they jump out. Like, every time it just jumps out to me because
amazing.
Your songs are different because of the place where you wrote them. So today I just really want to talk about that, you know, about your journey to getting to this place where you're churning out music that only you could have written.
Wow.
When I explain, you guys, I talk about how you've had to kind of create your own lane, right? A lot of people come into the city to do something by themselves. Not many people come in to do things together. And you've had to create your sound as a husband and wife.
Yep.
So, okay, let's start there.
I'm overwhelmed already.
I know,
in a good way.
Wow, okay, all right, let's do this.
So honored.
Tell us when you got to this town and what those first few years were like together, trying to make it.
I would say they were kind of hard, you know, building community in a place where you've never been, don't even hold a job type thing. We were staying with some family friends, and thank the Lord for them. But we were just kind of moseying around.
Starting a new place, starting new ground.
We had the outcomes of, you know, wanting to write a great song, or you know what I mean. But we didn't. We had a little muscle memory for how to do that, but you know, we didn't know what that everyday life was like in a co-writing city like Nashville. So, and that wasn't really existent back home. So we knew we had a connection there. We just takes a few steps to try it, and it was hard at first.
I like how you say it takes a few steps. I mean, you've been at this for 10 years, right? Or 10 years plus now,
really,
right?
I'd say about 16.
16. Oh my gosh.
Well, it's 50. Well, we've known each other for 15 years in April. It'll be 15 years, which is, and we started doing music together about 3 months in of dating.
Oh, okay.
So, it's like, I don't know. I mean, we moved with everything in one car when we came to Nashville.
From North Carolina.
Yep.
Right?
And our cat, like us and our cat and the Jeep Cherokee and whatever we could fit, the rest went into storage.
Yep.
And it's just been crazy. Like, I mean, we moved not knowing what either of us would do job-wise, but we knew we had to like work to like figure out, like, we want to get our own apartment and not live with our friends forever here. And they knew that, but they believed in us and said, stay here as long as you can until you get your feet wet. And we began like working odd jobs and just like getting our feet wet in the city is what we always say. And it's just been, I mean, honestly, actually I said to him the other night, I was like, it's pretty cool to look back from that day, that was in 2014 when we moved here, to now, how much things have grown for us. It's actually really cool. And it's a good reminder when we have moments of like discouragement, you know? So,
and you guys just released another song recently in February that was just, I mean, it's just amazing. And I feel like when I met you initially, you guys were about to release it, and then you're like, oh, no, we're going to hold it. We're going to hold it. It's going to be a Valentine's release. And I'm like, okay, I get it. But I just love that there's so much that people can celebrate about you right now. We know where you are currently, but I just want to stay in this past point for a moment, because part of what I like to do with this podcast is help people understand it's not all butterflies and roses. It's easy to look at somebody and see success and say, wow, I could never do that, I could never be that. But it's somewhere along the way you had to make a choice to do all the hard things to get to that point, right? To like follow what you wanted to do. And I know in some ways that was nannying, right, for you? And wasn't it the Apple store for you? Like you had to do that. So how were you thinking, and what was the self-talk even at that time where you're like, I gotta do this now, but this isn't forever. to be focused on that. So like walk me through that part.
Honestly, whether we're talking about our relationship or songwriting, I mean, those are different subjects, but they kind of come together one and the same when we're talking about inspiration and feelings and being led by our feelings, and like the opposite of that, which, you know, culture could define as hard work and just showing up and all that. But I mean, I feel like we've, you know, known what was on our heart in a lot of ways for the type of songs we want to, you know, do. But it's hard to just have that path laid out, whether we're talking 2014 and sometimes now in 2022. But I feel like the main thing that has changed is that inspiration happens more because we literally put it in our calendar. Like, we don't feel inspired to like show up every Monday at 10 a.m. for a co-write or whatever, and especially if it's a new person. Some of that's very exciting, but like, you know, if we're not feeling it that day, honestly, it's like, okay, we got to open up to a stranger. We got to spend 3 or 4 hours, book in the song. You know, I'm preparing the track and all that, and they send it to their publisher and kind of put it on the Song Mountain to see, you know, if it'll come down and be released, if that makes sense.
The Song Mountain, I like that.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, just making room and showing up for that has been like, by nature of doing that, inspiration just happens more often. And I didn't realize that like at all when we moved here, because we wanted to write based out of what we feel.
What feels
alone.
True, right?
Yeah.
And there's a truth to that for sure.
I was going to say something that I was really thinking when you asked that. Like, I was picturing what it was like when I nannied. And because I was discouraged a lot. Like, I had friends getting signed left and right, and here I was like, it's fine, I was where I was at for that season, but like I was pushing kids on like, you know, the stroller, taking them on walks, and I'm like, I'm sitting here and my friend just got signed and I'm babysitting. Like, and I want to be doing that. Yeah. So I had to constantly remind myself that we all start somewhere. And something I used to tell myself back then was, this is for a purpose, do this well, like serve this family right now in the best way that I can, do things that they don't even ask me to do, because I feel like this will lead to, like, if I can be faithful with the small, like me just babysitting a kid for the day, if that's what I have to do, if I can do that well and show up and like do that to my best ability, I know that it'll be honored sometime down the line in our music. And that seems weird, but like I had to tell myself that all the time.
I don't think it feels weird. I mean, there's scripture of that, right?
Yeah,
like you have to be faithful in the small, right? You have to show that you are a good steward of those things, right? To be, and maybe we're not even talking about gifts and talents, right? You're talking about just taking what you've got and being grateful. Yeah. How much do you think gratitude? How do you think gratitude has played into, like, even those points where you're like, God, this is not right, but good Lord, I got to still be grateful in this.
Yeah. I think gratefulness is what makes miracles happen. Like, I really believe that. And there has been plenty of times in my life where I have not felt grateful. And I've started speaking things of like complaining, or I'm just like huffing and puffing, and literally it'll take like him reminding me like, hey, you should probably like change your speech, because you're actually like putting that in the atmosphere right now.
And you're like, ooh.
And then I'm like, but then I realize, and I'm like, whoa, like that's true. And then I notice in our life the times where we've like spoken out that we've been grateful for stuff, or thank you for this, even though it's not what I want to be doing. Like, something beautiful comes from it. And I think it's everything. I think gratefulness is the key, honestly. Gratefulness and generosity are the two keys to life. To like be content. I really believe that.
Yeah, you get what you give, right? So if that's what you're giving, if those are the seeds you're planting, I mean, that's what you're going to get back.
Yeah, totally.
Yep.
I want to say it comes back equal part or exponentially, and I believe it does. It's just, you know, it's never the way I expect. And I think there are times for us to sit in the dark, for sure. I never want to stay there, if that makes sense. But I also don't want to cover up like something that needs to be said by just saying what we're grateful for. I feel like that's maybe antithetical to what we might have just said, but I think, you know.
I don't think so.
Yeah, does that make
there's
sense?
A balance to all of it.
Yeah.
I do think there's a balance to all of it.
Yeah, because I mean, we've had therapy in the last year because of some hard things we've gone through in our families and all that, and it's just been really amazing to learn how to, I guess, just create that space for each other. And me as a husband definitely wants to, you know, articulate the solution or fix it. And you know, that's definitely not the first step I've learned. So just sitting in the dark with her rather than just turning on the light has been kind of great for us.
What's it been doing this journey together? I mean, there's so much unknown when you
Sure.
enter in Music City, trying to work in music.
Yeah.
But you have a partner in that.
Yeah.
How has that been different from, you think, the experiences of even some of your friends that you do co-writes with,
Yeah.
who are the only musical one in their family, maybe?
Well, we talk about this actually a lot. I'm like, I always tell Derek, I'm so thankful I have you to like help me with this decision we have to make, or this song. Like when we write a song we love, do we release it, or is it just one that we wrote and maybe it just sits like forever? I'm so thankful I have him, because I did music when I first graduated high school by myself before I met him. And it's just not as fun as it is with him. Like, honestly, it's not. And I'm so thankful. Like, even this morning on the way here, we were like, we get to like do this kind of stuff together. It's not just me going in by myself or you. Like, we have each other to bounce ideas off of. And it's honestly, it's pretty crazy. Like, if I really think about it, I'm like, I can't believe we get to
The
do
level
that.
of compromise is a necessity for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what kind of compromise? Let's hear it.
I mean, I guess from the start, just trusting the other person's motive. I feel like is obviously not an easy task when you're first starting to date, and also mix it with music. I mean, that's a terrible combination in some ways. But fortunately, I would say that we dated for a good while before we really did music together and all that. And I mean, I feel like there's something. I feel like the word purity comes to mind, but it's not like a behavioral or like weird abstinence kind of purity. There's nothing churchy about what I'm trying to say. But it's like you're trusting their motive more than anything. And, the opposite of that is what? Living in suspicion, like living in suspicion that they're going to mess it up and like make you look bad and all that. And I don't feel like we had to fight through that a ton, but I mean, I feel like it's because honestly, we have our individual things that allow us to get centered. Like I go rock climbing and I go hang out with my buddies, and I make time for myself to where I'm mentally available for her. And sometimes I don't get time to do that, but
well, we had a really
ends
good
up working
friend.
out.
We had a really good friend who is like one of the best songwriters there is. And I remember this was back in like 2015. We met with her about some of our songs, and we were like, "What do you think?" And there was this one song that he had started writing that I was just like, I just don't know. Like, I really don't feel like we should do this. Like, I was very much like, my opinion matters the most right now.
Yeah.
And we shared this with like our friend.
Shared the song or shared the emotion?
The song.
Okay.
And the emotion kind of, but mostly the song. And she was like, actually, I like this idea like a lot. And she's like a very well-known songwriter. And then I ended up actually fully telling her, I was like, I actually thought my idea was better, and I was totally like squashing it. And she was like, well, you're gonna have to realize that his ideas are better than yours sometimes. And she's like, and Derek, you're gonna have to realize that Katelyn's ideas, and you're just gonna have to like give into that. Like, and I think that I've remembered that in so many areas, like whether it's with a music video or an idea or photo shoot, whatever we're doing. Yeah. It's like trusting that sometimes I just go, all right, I'm just going to trust you with that. Let's just move forward with that, if that makes sense.
That's probably the hardest part, even individually as a producer, because I always, you believe that something can always be better, but at the same time, if you keep believing that, you're never going to put the song out, you're never going to do this or whatever, and it's that perfection thing that is either individual or as a couple. I feel like we have to dial it in and trust each other. That's why I feel like our advantage is to say, like, we almost get affirmation in that way. Okay, the song's done. Or, I think we've said what we need to say. Yeah. And let's just tie a bow on it.
I love that. So when I think about the things that you guys say, that's, I think, one of the things that's so intriguing to me about you is that, you've come to a town, you're writing music, but most music is not written for a female and a male voice to be featured prominently. And I'm sure you realized that pretty quickly. And you said, wow, the only way to make this work is to do our own stuff, right? So you really had to hone your craft to create things that worked for your voice and worked for your voice and really highlighted both of not just your vocal chops, but then also showed heart. And I love that about what you're doing. I mean, the things that you're writing about are filling a space that I don't think is really filled, because how many people are writing songs that really pull out the heart and the intimacy of a committed relationship? I mean, it's just, but you do it in a way that's not like boring.
That's right. That's the goal.
That's such a compliment.
You're doing
you.
it. So, like, for example, your song, Yes, I feel like I'm gonna cry every time I listen to Yes, because it's like, okay, when you get in a committed relationship with someone, you are saying yes to all of it, right?
Yep.
You're saying yes to the good, yes to the terrible, yes to all their crap, but then yes to giving them all you are, right?
Yes to every cutting word we wish we never said. Yes to laying down on her, then making up in bed. Yes to our whole lifetime of forgiving to forget. You have my yes.
So tell me about where that song came from, like what kind of headspace you guys were in when you were writing it.
I'll start. I like visually went into the writing room that day. I think we had, honestly, I'm trying to remember.
I had a dream, actually.
Yes, that was it. I was like, it was
Now
either.
I'm trying to remember the dream.
Yes, you had a dream, and it was with actually the writer I was just talking about, who was initially the girl we talked about, was with her and a guy named Jacob Suter. And they're both married, and we all went to the Right that day. He had a dream about our anniversary.
Yeah, it's like we're on a cruise ship, and we were celebrating our anniversary, and the dream, something to the extent of...
Like me leaving or something.
Yeah, you were like, you were just done, even though we were on a cruise ship celebrating our anniversary. It was one of those dreams that I feel like it's the pepperoni pizza the night before, because it just didn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't make sense, and I couldn't make sense of it. So I woke up and like was just, taking notes, and
he literally was like writing a novel, and I walked in the kitchen. I'm like, "What are you like?" And he was like, "I just had this crazy dream." Like it was, and our anniversary was coming up that week, and I was like, "What?" Like, and he was like, "You were actually leaving. We were like celebrating our anniversary, and you were about to leave."
Yeah.
So
I'd like to say it was an epiphany dream, but in the moment I was like, "What the hell just happened?" So.
Well, he literally just like told me about it, and then I read through, like, because he's such a note taker anyway, like he's always writing down everything, and I said, well, we need to write a song about this. And so that's when we contacted our friend Mia and Jacob, and we went into the writing room that day, and I believe like all of us had like stories about the decision to choose every day. And we wrote it that day. I mean, I think we wrote it in like an hour and a half, and I remember when we did the demo, I recorded my vocal right there afterwards, and I think like I cried. I'm remembering like that day.
It was one of those for sure.
Yeah, because it was just like, we've always wanted to write songs about hope, and we're a married couple, so we want to make commitment beautiful and sexy for people, like, because a lot of times it's not looked at that way.
Yeah.
And so when we go to write a song like that, like, we want to be real. I don't want to just be like you said, butterfly and sunshine. Like, I don't want it to just be like, I love you, and no matter what you do, like, I'll always love you. I want it to be like, for better, for worse, like, and like when we make up in bed, like, I want to talk about those real things, like, vulnerability's hard.
Yeah.
And so when you go there, I want it to be real for people, so that they're not just listening to something like, okay, cool, like your marriage is perfect, you just got in a little fight. Like, I want it to be real. And so hopefully with that song, even House on Fire is the same thing.
Totally. It's
we
totally
want
the
it to
same
be
thing.
like real talk, not just a love song, if that makes sense.
I mean, well, yeah, it makes sense, because I feel it, and I felt that in your music, which is why I'm like, I just feel like so magnetized to you guys. There's really like
Appreciate
no way
that.
for me to say it other than that, like, just really hearing your music and feeling like this magnetic pull, because I think you demonstrate something that I talk about and write a lot about, which is one of the truths of purpose. When people are living in purpose, one of those things is like there's a magnetism to that, because I just feel like a lot of people don't do it. Most people don't make the choice to be unconventional or to follow purpose or to pursue what it is like that their heart is really telling them to do. Most of us don't do it because it's hard, right? It's so
real
much
hard.
easier to just, go with the flow, do what someone has said to do, and just like keep on going, but you've chosen to do something hard. Has that been rewarding, or has that been crazy, or like what has that been like for
all
you?
of the A, B, C, and D, yes, all of those.
I would say we experience more desire. Like, it's kind of like I said with songwriting, just kind of a light bulb moment right now, but like by showing up, we're not inspired to write the song, but just by showing up for each other in our relationship, like, desire happens more often, because it's like, wow, you did that for me, or vice versa, hopefully.
I think the hard things in the moment are when people don't get it. because sometimes people don't get
Sure.
it.
Like who?
Industry.
Songwriters? Oh, okay.
I think a lot of times
Songwriters
people
get it.
don't. Oh, songwriters always get what we're doing in the lane we're in. But I think sometimes industry doesn't know what to do with Derek and I, because we're a married couple and they've had other married couples that have not done well or whatever, or fight in the room constantly or whatever it is. And I think those kind of disappointments are just like, well, just hang out with us. Like just come and hang. Let's go have a drink. That's the hard.
She's one of the guys in a lot of ways.
I am. I always say.
She wanted a cigar before dinner and a bonfire and
I always
whiskey.
say, I'm a girly guy. I really am. But no, those are the hard parts. But I think it's so rewarding because I see our path. Like I see the past of what we've done and where we are now, and I choose to like look back at those moments always and like see where we've come, like see how far we've come. So I think it is like major. It's so rewarding for us. And the hard things that I've learned are only to make us, to like shape us and make us better people, and like treat others the way we don't want to, like treat others the way we want to be treated, not the way we've been treated sometimes.
Yeah.
Like always see someone.
How old were you when you realized that? Because I do feel like that comes at a certain point where you go, wait a minute, all this crap is for a purpose. I just have to look at it differently. So when was that?
I would say last year is where I finally realized it. Like, because I've always dabbled with that, like felt like, I can choose to see, but I still felt discontent.
Yeah, it's hard to just regurgitate a principle that's been spoken to you.
Last year was the hardest year of my life on a personal level. Not music is actually the best year for our music, but and I think I finally realized last year, and I'm still realizing right now, like that stuff is like life is so short. We're only here like a snap of. Life is so short, and I'm like, we only have one shot. So the little things that I think bothered me so much in the past, I just really don't care. Like it's going to be okay. Like we're doing what we're doing. We've already made it in so many ways. Like I think we're always looking to see like, of course we want to do big things, like I was saying the Opry to you a second ago, and like cool stuff like that, but we've already made it. Like we have a house, like we have an amazing family. We're so blessed. I can't even believe
you're making money doing what you came here to do. So you're being grateful in that.
So I think it was last year for me, honestly, to like fully realize it's
Part of that
all
is
gonna be
grief
okay.
for you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
If you want to talk about that.
We can.
Yep, you're right.
Last year was crazy. I really don't want to cry, but I've gone through a lot of loss in my life. At a young age, I lost good friends, like all within high school. And I think being the personality that I have, like always just like putting a face on and showing up, like my personality is very walk in a room and I can change in a minute being around people. But that was also like kind of a curse for me, because when you go through hard things, like most people, I feel like try to deal with them. I would just be sad for like a week and then pack it. But then last year, 2 little girls in our family passed away, and it just like triggered me beyond anything really ever I've gone through.
Yeah.
And
I think it probably unpacked a lot of.
Yeah.
Not that you want to make it about that event, about your
Yeah,
past trauma,
totally.
but like it kind of flipped the lid off of
Yep.
some things you'd packed down. I would
It was
say.
literally like, I'm such a visual, I always see things in like visions, but like, it was like I had a jar in my inside. This sounds weird, but it was like I had all these feelings my whole life, just pack of like disappointment, whatever it was, like
Resentment, anger,
all of it. And when
rejection.
that happened in May of last year, it's almost been a year now, everything just came up at once, and it was just like, well, I don't know what to do with all these feelings, and I'm gonna have to deal with it right now. So I think that's part of me realizing that, like I say, life is so short, and all these things that I think are such this big deal with our music, I'm like, hold on, let's like think about things a little bit longer. Like, let's think about things more clearly. Like, it doesn't actually matter.
Yeah.
Those
How
things
this turns
actually
out,
don't
or-
matter.
Right,
Like,
right.
all that matters is the moment for us. And I think last year was one of the hardest years, but I can honestly say, like, now my head is like above the water. And I truly feel like so much more authority because I've come out the other side, like, and I'm a believer, like I still love Jesus coming out of all that. When I had very dark days of like anxiety and just like questioning why people have to die, like it's a very real thing. Like I still don't understand. There's a lot of things I'll never understand on this side of heaven, but you know, I can say I've come out the other side like a stronger person, a stronger songwriter, a stronger artist, stronger wife, and all the more I just want to write even more real things.
I wondered if that ended up in a song or transitioned.
It actually did.
I could think of 6.
Well, we've been writing a lot. Like we have really been writing a lot lately, and
what is that song we wrote last week
with
the same girl who you wrote with us and all that? It's called Longer. What's the
called
bridge?
Longer.
It's like the longer you stay, the more that I heal.
And please, by all means, if you want to sing it, you totally
well,
can.
I would. I have to like sit and think about the chorus for a minute, but it's like, I don't need you to. What is it?
I don't need you to fix it.
Yes, I don't need you to fix it. I don't need you to tell me everything's going to be all right. I don't need you to tell me hard things make you stronger. I just need you to sit with me a little longer.
Oh my God, that makes me want to cry.
Literally, it was like, and so last year was the hardest year, and I didn't know what to say or really even like, I couldn't even go there with people. Like when I was just very much like still processing. Yeah. And this year I'm like, everything's coming out because we have written like probably 6 songs in the last like 3 weeks, 4
Something
weeks,
like that.
That have to do with like pain.
Yeah.
And I've always been leery to like, I've always wanted to write real songs, but I think I always kind of like would put a bow on things so that it would appear to like not be so, like I don't want to ruffle feathers too much. But now I'm like, life's too short, I don't care. People need to like know that it's okay to feel sad, like it's okay to feel pain. I just want to be real. Like I'm like, I want to be real with what I've gone through, because surely someone else has. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like surely someone else has felt like they don't want someone to just tell them like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah. Are you
like,
kidding? Like there's so much loss in this world right now.
Yeah.
Everyone's hearing the same thing and sort of sitting there like, whoa, what do I do now? And what music is out there for loss? Not much.
Really?
That's the kind of thing that I'm saying about your music. Like there are certainly lots of emotions that are captured in music. Certainly love is captured in music. But what you guys, like the lane that you're in is like exposing human emotion in a way that hasn't been exposed. Like we feel that, but why isn't it in music? You know what I'm saying? Like do you feel that? Because like I feel that when I listen to your stuff.
that. I just have a hard time taking that compliment because it's our ultimate goal.
Take it.
Like
That
I receive
is our
it
ultimate
for sure.
goal.
It's
it's like means so much. I'm like,
And well, let me ask you this. So I was having this was a few months ago. I was having a conversation with a vocal coach. It was funny because she also writes songs and stuff, and I had said to her,
it Sophie?
Vanessa, who also works with Sophie.
Nice.
And I just said to her, oh gosh, how did it go? It was just a conversation about being, when songwriters, they feel emotion so deeply, and they must have things really figured out. They must be really good. Your face is what is
I'm
where
like,
this is going.
Whew.
That's a good one.
I said, they feel emotion so deeply, so they've got it. They're kind of airing out that emotion in song, and it's beautiful, and they're helping people heal through that. And she was like, no, you've got it all wrong. She's like, music and song ends up being personally focused for their own personal healing. If it brings healing to others, then that's a beautiful part to it. But she's like, usually songwriters are the ones who don't have it figured out, and they've got real problems. And I was like, really?
Well,
So you tell me, because you guys do a lot of co-writes. You're songwriters. You also write with other people.
Yep.
What's your experience with people and their ability or inability to express?
I guess for us, it's how we externally process, I would say. It's our therapy in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Literally. It is our therapy. I don't want to answer this.
Trying to leave space for you to answer this.
I always feel like if I'm in the room with whoever we're writing with, and there's something that we say for maybe a possible line in the song, and it makes me feel very vulnerable and nervous for people to hear it, I'm like, that's probably the right direction we should go.
Oh, yeah.
And that scares me. Like, I remember, this was back in 2018 when we released music the first time, our song War. That was one of the most vulnerable songs we had ever written to start.
If it's love, then it's
but it was like, I remember before we released the video, because if the music video like pays, you know, tribute to his mom who passed away from suicide, and my family members in there who have gone on to be, you know, like my grandmother had cancer, and so we put all of our family in it. And I remember just thinking at the very end, you know, the video, we put this line, like this message from us that we like literally wrote out ourselves, and it was like, you know, life is short. Like if you ever need something, like know that there's people who love you or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I remember being so nervous to release that music video because I was like, it's either going to make people feel like we're depressing people, they don't want to listen to us, or it's going to resonate. And I was just like, oh, I don't know. And it's been our biggest song. Yeah. And we've had people all over the world like tell us like their life, like their stuff they're going through, that I'm just like, I've never met you and I don't know if I ever will, but you're like telling us your whole life story and asking us to like pray for you or to just think about them or whatever. It's just, so in rooms when we're writing, I think when I follow those feelings of this feels really vulnerable and like, oh, but I feel like I need to say it, if that answers your question.
Well, it does. And Derek, what was that like for you writing a song about something that a lot of people don't talk about when someone they love has committed suicide? Yeah,
sure.
So what was that like for you? I mean, it was your mom, you know?
I think I had to disconnect from the outcome of it, if that makes sense. Part of it is we actually didn't write this, we didn't come into the room with that as a song idea, because I'm like, I don't even know how it would have worked. I mean, it could have worked, especially, you know, in hindsight.
There was one line in the song that was about his mom. Like, it was basically, and that was like, the verse was like, you know, we'll see you again, like there's the sun. That was like about her and my friend Lauren, who had passed away. But then it quickly, like right after we wrote it, basically, when we were in the studio recording is when we realized it was like, oh, this is like for his mom. This whole song is for his mom. So.
And that's when I felt like it, I didn't feel nervous or anything about it. You know, truthfully, it's always exciting and nervous when you release a song, especially one so personal, I guess, but it was like so obvious how it was purpose-driven in the way that like I hadn't even seen these tapes of my mom, and I hadn't even heard her voice until I heard these tapes after we had written the song.
How'd you find the tapes? I'm just curious.
They were at my grandma's house, her mom's house.
We were visiting her on Easter Sunday, and I said to her randomly, I would love to see, like, do you have any videos of Derek's mom that we could like watch? Because I've just never seen her. We've never seen her in like action. We've only seen pictures.
And he was young, right? When she died? How old were you?
I was 8 months old, so.
Yeah, he never knew her. And then so she said, hold on, let me go find him. And she found a box and like let us take him with us. And we went back to my parents. That's where we stay mostly when we go to North Carolina to visit. And we watched him Easter night.
It makes me want to cry. Like, did you sob? What did you do in that moment?
I did.
I thought I would.
I really did.
I laughed because how country she was.
She was very country. She was like, hey, like just real Southern. And we were like, whoa, that's amazing.
Yeah, but I mean, the tears came for sure and still do if I watch it today. And as they should. And I feel like your loss too, all of our loss, like whenever we cry and mourn for people like that is the extent of how much we love them. And I'm grateful that I feel that way for my mom, even though I was 8 months old and didn't know her in a lot of ways. And I just think that's a beautiful perspective, but also just an actual healing in my life and for my family. So.
Yeah, I love that. You ready to play a little game?
Yeah,
yes.
There's questions I like to ask people.
Cool.
And you guys will be different because this is this is like two of you at the same time. So try to answer these as like
collectively.
Yeah, collectively. Okay.
Cool.
This will be fun.
It was almost like, what is that game? Like the Newlywed Game? Where
Yeah.
Anyway,
no, that makes
it's like
sense.
a TikTok reel where it like pops up and it's like answer. And
right,
you're like, anyway.
Okay, so when was the best time in your life?
When we bought our house.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you have a song about it too, by the way, which I like.
Yeah.
But didn't you write that song before you?
About a year before.
That just blows my mind too. Like writing a song about Whites Creek and then buying a house in Whites Creek later is just kind of like.
And it was the first house you looked at. All of it is like, it sounds so stereotypical, but
But
it's
it
how
really
it
happened. Like, we were in the studio recording the song on Whites Creek that we wrote the week we found the house and got approved for a loan, which was just like hilarious.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
Yeah.
it was cool.
Some fill you from a whiskey bottle, some read you in a dusty Bible, but I find you with me. Little house lovers, arms down Whites Creek. Some meet you underneath the steeple, some see you in a crowd of people, but I find you with me. Little house lovers, arms down Whites Creek.
We spent a lot of time there in 2020 with some friends and just really felt like it felt removed from the city. It's only like maybe 7 minutes.
You've been to our house.
From town.
Yeah, I know.
so-
I know. It's
Yep.
so cute.
I love
Thanks.
it.
But we just felt drawn to that area personally, and we just somehow made it happen with God's help for sure.
That was the best time in our life.
And our lender, he got pretty creative. So
Yes.
I
We
mean,
were like,
being honest, like we were unemployed in 2020 for obvious reasons,
Right.
but our lender like
worked it out.
based our loan off of 2019
Yes.
taxes.
Oh,
And it was
nice.
like,
Well, and that
was
just
nuts.
goes to show more, like you've made a life out of doing this, right? Like
Yeah.
you've created this thing, and
Yeah.
now you've had enough income to be able to buy a house. Like
Yeah.
it's just kind of amazing.
Yeah.
yeah.
When was the worst time in your life?
I would say last year,
Yeah, I would say that. Like
2021.
personal strain for sure.
Yeah, it was crazy because musically it was probably one of the best years. But I
Yeah.
think it was like when everything kind of came out with the loss, it was a huge loss in our family, and it still is. And I think it was just really hard because I kind of just didn't know how to handle all those emotions coming out at once, and I felt like I had to deal with it. And so we dealt with it. We got a counselor, and he was amazing. He is. We're still seeing him, but he's amazing, and it's just been. It's been great.
Yeah.
Like having that like
And
outlet.
those are on Zooms. He's
Yeah.
in Colorado, and like
Oh wow.
it's something about talking on Zoom is pretty nice to like just let it all out. There's
Yep.
no like
No judgment.
social
Yep.
cues that you got to watch out for, and it's nice.
Yeah, or like, oh my God, everyone's staring at me right now as
Right,
I
Yeah.
absolutely lose my mind
Yeah.
like, on this couch.
Yeah.
I get that.
It's nice.
Okay, so when was a turning point for you? Was there a point you said everything
Oh, yeah.
changed from this moment?
Totally. I would say sitting in the dark with each other and learning how to have that space to grieve without, again, just flipping the light on whatever that solution is, you know what I mean, to make the other person feel better. And, you know, not that we didn't try to make each other feel better, but it was, you know, what we used to just regurgitate as statements,
like it's all gonna be okay. Like
or like something better
Yeah.
is going to, you know, come out of this or whatever. And, you know, I'm almost embarrassed to say that now, but to be honest, it was, you know, where we're at the time, and we've learned how to just sit in that space, and I don't know, it's hard to articulate, but
I would
just
say-
giving that space for healing, like really
So
allows
last
you to talk
year-
about it.
sorry, babe, I didn't mean to
You're
interrupt.
good.
But last year, so on top of like that loss with our family, in December, I think it was a turning point. I actually got mono. I was very
Gosh,
sick.
poor dear.
Our cat, who is like my child, almost died. She had this crazy surgery. And so I think everything was just like turmoil. The
Yeah.
whole year was just like, the end of the year was just turmoil. And I remember sitting in the parking lot at the vet while she was in surgery, I just being like, what the hell? Like, what is literally happening right now? And I remember like the sun was setting, and I could see the sky to my right. And I remember like, at that moment, I felt in my spirit, it's gonna be okay. No matter what, it's gonna be okay. And like, I don't know what it was about the sunset. Like, I think it was like, I'm not in control of anything. Like, it's gonna be another day tomorrow.
Yeah, the sun will rise.
We'll
the sun
rise,
will
the
set.
sun will set. I'm gonna be okay. And I think that was a huge turning point for me, like, and for us,
Yeah.
because
That's
that was
good,
when I
though.
started to see hope again, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and it's
Yeah.
hard, right? When you're in a married, committed relationship, you want nothing more than for the other person to be happy. But that's not something you can do for her, and that's
Nope.
not something she can do for you.
Yeah.
And that happiness is something she has to find on her
Yeah.
own, and you have to find on your own.
That's right. That's
so
good.
I know that what that pain is like too.
Yeah.
Obviously, being a married woman, I understand that pain.
Yeah.
So what was that like when she finally was like, I'm not drowning anymore?
yeah.
Yeah.
What was that for you?
Well, part of it is grief shows up whenever it wants.
Yeah.
So not to say that we're never going to be out of it, but again, how much you love that person, it's obviously good to mourn and cry about those people that you've lost in your childhood. And you know what I mean? Like, I feel like part of that is good to maintain an awareness of. But to your point, like when she climbed out of that pit was really nice to, feel like we could both breathe and have new tools to like.
Well, he could tell me,
navigate
he would
that,
tell me
you know?
like, I see that you're different. Like he was like, I can see that. Even friends of mine would say like, I see it in your eyes. Like
Oh yeah.
you're on the up and up. Like, so.
Yeah.
Was there a moment of clarity for you guys? It doesn't have to be the same point. It can be
Sure.
at any point in your togetherness.
Clarity.
Okay. We said it on the way over here, like we really can't control as much as we think, and
Yeah.
it allows us a little more freedom to take risks because we're not so emotionally caught up in the outcome that we're trying to control.
Yeah.
If we don't
And when
control
was
it.
that clarity? When was that?
I
I
mean,
mean, was
I'd
it like
say
today you had this moment of
no.
clarity?
We've had it
No.
a million times and have to be reminded a million times. That's
Yeah.
that's.
I
what
would
it
say
is.
probably January
Yeah.
of this year.
Wow.
Because that was all December, what I was explaining, like sitting in the car. I mean, it was just like a crazy year. And January, like this whole year has started out, it's just been, I feel like it's good. I don't know, it's
Yeah.
just, that's all I know how to say it. It's like, it's good. And the clarity is being in the moment and realizing that we don't have to like hustle and grind and do all this stuff. There's times of that, but clarity is like the moment. Like waking up and having breakfast and just like being at the house, like cleaning out the closet is just like beautiful. I don't know. And so
so
it's like,
good.
that's the clarity is
Yeah.
it's just being in the moment. Like we don't have to have everything figured out. Like just be here.
Just be there.
Right now. Here.
Be. Just
right
be.
now.
I get it.
Like, it's just moment to moment. Like that's the clarity. Because
Can I pose a question to you?
what?
As a Enneagram,
love this.
Enneagram
What?
3, as a performer, as a very passionate woman who I'm in love with, like how do you turn off like the to-do list?
How do I turn off the to-do
Yeah,
list?
because you didn't used to be that way all the time.
Oh, I don't know.
And I used to be the opposite, like
How I turn off the to-do list. I think just realizing that if I don't get all the 40 things on my list done in one day, it's going to be okay. It's the same thing of
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh well, it'll just have to wait.
Yeah.
Summarize.
It's going to be okay. Like, oh well, like if I don't get all 40 things done. Like I used to stay up till like midnight and I would be like, if I got an idea about something I missed, I'd be like, I got to get that done before I go to bed.
Yeah.
Like, and it'd be like late. And he's like, no, just like go to bed. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
but
I
I'm
can't.
I'm
Yeah.
so that way.
Yeah,
that
I'm
same
like,
way,
oh,
I
I
can't
gotta
leave
do
it
it.
undone.
Yeah.
Kids broke me of that. 'Cause
Oh,
I'm
really?
I'm sure that'll be that for me too, even more.
They've got so much that goes along with like being there for them. That it's
Wow.
like, oh my god.
some great revelation there, I'm sure.
My greatest revelations have been after the births of my children. I mean, truly, this
Yeah.
podcast came after the birth of my third child. It was
there you
like
go.
this, like
Wow.
real clarity.
Wow.
What is something about your nature that you've either overcome or you continue to overcome?
You just answered that, I guess.
I think
Okay, like this incessant need to
I think,
complete.
Yeah. we
well, I
could
also
both do
think
that
my
one.
affirmation for me, I've always needed affirmation from people. And
Oh, like love language, words of affirmation?
words of
Or like-
affirmation.
okay.
That's even my love language with him. Like I love words. And now, with everything that we're doing, with songs, the music we're about to release, with meetings, with photo shoots, with ideas about music videos, I am like, this is what I want to do. And if this person or this person doesn't like it, oh well.
So you're kind
They'll
of
either
letting
like us or
go.
they won't.
Yeah. Okay. You're
That's
kind
it.
of letting go of that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that's
Of the
that's been
control.
like really hard for me.
Yeah.
Because I've always wanted to please people and like make sure I'm doing a good job and hear that. And
we
I'm
found
not saying
that-
I'm perfect. Like I still feel
Yeah.
that sometimes, but
Yeah.
I'm choosing to like not care as much.
Yeah.
And because the reality is, people either like what we're doing or they won't, and that's all there is to it. Like,
And they're not your people. If they don't like it, they're not your people
yeah.
anyway. It's
Yeah,
fine.
sure.
so I think that's like a big thing in my nature of like how
Yeah.
I've always been my
Yeah.
whole life. That's like way better.
Well, you're so flexible with me. with that stuff. And
That's different.
I don't
though.
always tell
like,
you.
That's
Yeah.
a committed relationship where like she
Yeah.
knows there's trust and honesty and
Yeah.
That's
openness
right.
and non-judgment, and so it's easy for
Yeah.
her to do that with you. It's
Yeah.
harder to. This is like someone speaking from experience. Like,
Yeah.
it's harder to do it with someone who's going to express judgment toward,
Totally.
Yeah.
toward you.
I
What
hear
about
it.
you? What's something in your nature you feel like you've overcome? Derek?
I feel like, gosh, what is so the Enneagram? If you've heard of that,
Oh,
I don't want to dive
very
into.
familiar. Our
Yeah, yeah.
season 1, episode 1 person was Ian Morgan Cron, who was the
Oh,
godfather
amazing.
of Enneagram.
I gotta listen to that.
Very
That's
familiar.
amazing.
I got a lot out of his podcast for
Oh
sure.
yeah, he's great. He's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me your Enneagram. stuff.
Yeah, so I'm an Enneagram 9, which is known
I'm married
as,
to
as
a
the
9.
well, there you
Yeah,
go.
I'm married to 9.
Known
gonna
as
say.
the peacemaker, I
Yeah.
suppose. But the one, and I'll make this short, like the one thing that stood out to me that was like cringy, which makes me, feel like it was truth, was like you're so used to seeing other people that you don't see yourself,
Yeah.
and it was really scary.
But it was very true too.
But I was like,
"Whoa."
I can't accept this. Like, I'm not going to be this way. So I, have always held opinions. I just, maybe have not spoken them out because I hold respect in a lot of conversations. I don't like interrupting. I don't like to be interrupted. But like at the same time, like I like to be invited into those spaces, much like you've done with us today. And I feel like just knowing that I have those opinions that need to be expressed, especially in our relationship.
And there's value to them.
Yeah.
What you have to say is important.
Yeah,
You have to convince yourself of that.
I have. Yeah, for sure. Now, not as much, just because I've had a few years of practice with that. But it's been the best thing for our music, our relationship, and all that.
I love that. I absolutely love that. What do you think your purpose is?
To let people know they're not alone.
Yes.
My first answer was to provide hope
I know.
in songs. And I feel like that is still a bookend answer. But to her point earlier, we don't need to bookend a song with a happy message at the end, because we need to sit in the dark with each other sometimes. And I feel like that even is true in our music,
We keep saying sit in the dark because we love Brene Brown. And she said this in one of her podcasts about
That's right.
her little girl, I think, was having like a day where she was just feeling sad about something. And she was in her room sitting in the dark. And Brene was like, I just want to walk in and like flip the light on and tell her, let's go get ice cream and do this and like make her feel better.
Yeah.
She was like, I actually sat in the room in the dark with her and kept staring at the light switch saying, don't turn on the light, don't turn on the light. And so that's why we keep saying that, because that just stood out to us so much last year. But yeah, our purpose is to let people know that they're not alone. And I think our purpose is to bring, how do I say this? Like when people come to our shows, because we want to tour, we want to like to have a family on the road, like in tour. And our purpose is to make people feel like they're at home when they're with us.
Yeah.
And I think because when you're at our house, literally our house with us, people, I want them to like feel like they can be themselves, that they feel loved, no matter where how we believe differently or whatever. I think that's our purpose, is to make people feel at home, if that makes sense. Like,
They have a seat at the table. I
yes,
suppose.
I want everybody to have a seat at the table in our house.
And then when did you realize that was, hey, this is what we are here to do?
Honestly, I would say after last year.
Well, I would say back to like when we first released music.
Yeah. Why was
Because,
that?
well, we've always said that about our shows. We've always
yeah.
said like,
Yeah, totally.
and that's our purpose. Like, and you've always said the hope. But
Totally.
I think it's even more clear now,
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
purpose.
exactly.
Like we've always said these things, but I think it's even more like we really see it now.
Yeah, if you've created and released songs that hit home with people.
Right. Well, then
It's amazing.
that's the confirmation that you've actually done right. When it starts to
Yep.
come back to you,
Yep.
and you're like, oh, you just feel it, like, this is right. This is right. And I do feel like that happens to anybody who chooses to step out, whether it's in faith or in a pursuit of
Yeah.
purpose. There is a point for all of us where we stand up and go, I've been doing this the whole time. I just didn't.
Wow.
I never put it together.
Yeah.
That, like, you are the pinball in the pinball machine.
Yeah.
But the path of the pinball was just beautifully divine, right? And then like it gets you to the point where you're supposed to be, and you're like this. It's like this moment of awareness. Like the purpose pre-existed, but it's the awareness that I feel like really sends you forth, you know, with way more gumption and power, because it just kind of gets harnessed. You know, do you feel that in your own music? Like where you've been able to say, we're really harnessing this now.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it comes out in the writing room a lot just because, I mean, I feel like we write with some of our best friends, and I mean, that literally is like therapy, and whether it's around a bonfire or not, like there's something about a bonfire that comes to mind, like image-wise.
Oh, yes. We love a bonfire.
Church in a way, you know.
So good.
You know, leave it at the bonfire. That's a good song title.
I know. No, I do. I feel like, because we say this, I'm like, now we really, because, you know, when we first, when we moved here, we would write songs and not, like we liked this sound and that sound and this idea. But now I feel like we really have it honed in of like what our lane is and like, what we want to say.
Well, how would you describe your lane? You know, how would you describe your own work?
Stuff we've been through. I know that's such a bookend answer, but like it really is like
lived
stuff we have to
experience?
live through, and you know, I feel like that
Well, I think it's
honors
a bridge.
the people who, you know, relate to that. It honors my wife, who has lived through, you know, a lot of hell, and myself included, and it feels like an inclusive way to like make something beautiful that carries weight. And you know, if we've lived through those things, we carry authority in that, so we can speak into it. So, and there's a purity in that because that's what holds the most power.
It's definitely authentic, I'd say. Certainly.
Thank you.
I would say like, authentic, like Jesus loving country. Ain't afraid
Beers and
to drink a beer,
hallelujahs.
ain't afraid to smoke a cigar. Might say a cuss word every now and then, but we love Jesus. That's it.
Wow.
And we love people.
Before we end this, I just want to get excited with you about what's happening with all your stuff on CMT too.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
when you guys
thanks.
released
Yeah.
Dolly Would
Yep.
at the end of 2021.
Yep.
I mean, like, what a fun anthem, you know?
I love
and it
Dolly.
did so well on CMT.
Must be on to something real. If I write what people feel, but it contradicts the way they thought of love. Call me trashy, call me cheap, with my heart out on my sleeve. Oh, but I'm just gonna do what Dolly would.
I love Dolly
Yeah.
Parton. Oh my gosh. Like she is, I want us to be friends, and I feel like we will one day, Dolly, if you're listening. But that song really was kind of like a place at the table. We invited our friends who are of all walks to be in the video. There were, you know, we had extras that we didn't know that well, but most of the ones that we invited, like, were from all different, like, we have our church friends there, our friends who don't even go to church, like, and I loved it because that's how we think of Dolly. So anyways, that song came out. It was #1 on CMT, the 12-pack, for like 6 weeks in a row. And then our video, House on Fire, is on right now. It's every day that's playing on CMT Music in the rotation, and then it's up for voting every week, and you can vote as much as you want every day.
Every day.
And this past Friday was the first week it was on.
More and often.
Yes,
But
like,
early and
all
often.
the time. But this last week it was #7 in the top 12, and there's like 80-something videos to vote through. And so we'll see tonight if it's any closer to #1. I don't know, but
It is tonight.
hopefully.
Okay.
But yeah, CMT's been really awesome, like supporting us, and through our first releases, they've just been great. And so we love CMT.
Yeah.
I do, when I talk to you guys, I do get the sense of like, yes, you have goals, yes, you have dreams, yes, you have things that you really want to do. But I also get this feeling that you've kind of almost thrown your hands up in this just beautiful like acceptance of, hey, whatever the path is going to be is what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way, or is that just like how I perceive
That's
you?
every day for us. We make plans every day, and they always get shifted around either because of life events or because there's another idea that comes up, and you know, it's not chaotic. I hope it doesn't sound that way, but it definitely sounds led. It feels led in a type of discernment for us.
Yeah.
That feels like we just trust each other enough to like poke holes in each other's stories and like.
It's hard
make
for
it better,
me because I am such a goal-oriented person. I've
like if it
always
doesn't-
been.
Yeah.
But I am at a place of hands, like I say all the time, it's weird that you would even like see that or like say that, because I always say I just want to be I'm just open-handed. I've said that so much lately. And
Well, it's freeing in a way.
Yeah, but I still have these things that I want to reach. Like I told you a little bit ago, we'd love to play the Opry. That's like a dream for his like grandparents to be there and my family.
Oh my gosh, how sweet would that be?
Like, because they've just all supported us so much.
Yeah.
And like, we would love to win a Grammy. Like, that's like that would be so amazing to even just go, like, as artists that invited, you know, like those kind of things. And so we have those on our list, but I realize that it's not going to be me hustling and grinding to get there.
Yeah, totally.
It's not going to come from that. So I do have to be open-handed and just do the best with what we have and release the songs that we feel are us and true to who we are.
Yeah.
And hopefully that'll happen. But we don't have control over it.
Right.
I wish we did.
Yeah,
but
we're each here to learn different lessons,
Yeah.
I think. And what's really interesting to me about you guys is like you have the lessons you have to learn. You have the lessons you have to learn. But you have been intertwined. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everything about your purpose has been intertwined together, right? So like you're here for her. You're here for him, you know, and you're going to do it together. And that's what's so beautiful to me about it. Because for you, purpose is not a singular experience. It is this duo.
I love that.
And it's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
So you guys, thank you so much for doing this with me today.
Absolutely.
Oh,
We always feel honored around you,
love
but it's great to dig deep a little bit.
Yes, we
Great.
love you. We support anything you do. So anything
That's
you
right.
ask us, we'll be like, sure, we'll be there. I love it.
Great, we'll do it again sometime.
Yes.
Please.
Thank you.
So what'd you think? Tell me in the comments below, like it, share it with someone who needs to hear it. I'm adding new videos all the time to help you reconnect with self and then prepare for purpose. And since you're here, I've gone ahead and linked my playlist, the episode Amplified. It gives shorter clips from each episode, still though very much power-packed with encouragement. It's all right here. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.